Welcome to the College Basketball Net Profit Show, Tuesday, February 21st. Ian Cameron, Conor Mack with you, ready to break down the Tuesday college basketball slate. It is a bunch of power conference games highlighting the Tuesday slate. We'll begin with a good one in the Big East. Villanova, Xavier. Xavier, 4.5-point home favorites, and 147 being the total in this game. The Xavier Musketeers, certainly they've kind of had a leveling off a little bit, at least the last several games. Of course, they started the season really playing well. Still a great home record, but it's been a little bit more bumpier road lately for them. 3-3 in their last 6 games entering tonight. But the home court remains very strong. They had wins and covers against Butler and DePaul and a win against Seton Hall, but they did not cover that's Villanova. That's 3-3. Xavier on the flip side, 3-2 their last 5. The home court has been strong. 14-1 they are at Cintas Center. We'll see if that continues tonight. What's interesting is Xavier's been for the most part this season a team you want to bet over the total in their games, but their last 3 have gone under. And the scoring wasn't nearly as good for them. Defensively, they were better against Butler and Marquette. And the win against DePaul. Keep in mind, they're still playing without a couple of key pieces. They've got Tandy right now questionable with a foot injury. Kiki Tandy. They've got Jerome Hunter with an ankle issue. The big loss that they've had for the last several weeks is Zach Fremantle in the front court, still dealing with that left foot issue. So, Villanova is playing better. But do I want to take them here only getting 4.5 on the road? Not really. I mean, you look at the road performances, other than a win against St. John's, lost to Butler, lost to Marquette, lost to Creighton, lost to Providence, and all of those losses by 5 points or more. Well, losing by 5 isn't going to get the job done tonight. So it's a pass for me. Conor, what do you think?
Yeah, but I'd be on Nova or nothing here, and I haven't backed this team much at all. It just seems like the ultimate go through the motions flat spot. You mentioned the guy's injured for Xavier. They'll still be able to score, and money's all in them, but this number's shrinking. I even see bookmaker down to 4, the first 4 that I see. So to me, I think you take the points with Villanova in this one. I probably won't get involved, but that's where I'd be.
All right, Georgia Tech, Pittsburgh. We've got Pitt 12-point home favorites. The total here 138.5. It's gone up a little bit here in this game. You look at Georgia Tech. They have coming off a 77-70 victory at home against Virginia Tech last week. They played a rare non-conference game over the weekend. Florida Tech, 79-50. I don't know why the hell that was scheduled when it was, but why you plop in a non-conference game right in the middle of the ACC season. But nevertheless, they got the job done there, 79-56. Pitt, on the other hand, off a loss at Virginia Tech, 79-72 over the weekend back home. They've really been rolling here on the home court. Playing well, covering numbers. The last 2 road home wins, I should say, Louisville and Boston College, they won those games by 34 and by 19. So I wouldn't be interested in Georgia Tech. Do I want to lay 12 with Pitt? Not really. I might end up on a Pitt team total over. I think that might be the best way to go. I don't want to deal with a full game over and worry if Georgia Tech is going to score or not, because they can be a little stodgy on offense. I'd rather focus more on Pitt. And so if I were to bet anything here, I'd look at the Panthers team total over. Conor, any thoughts here?
That might be the good look, because if you don't, if Georgia Tech's going to get it done, they're more of an under team. But Pitt, for me, this low a total, I would take the game over. And I think it still can get over. And Georgia Tech's been scoring a little bit more as of late. And it's a big number for Pitt. They've been so good. This is not where I want them laying 12, 11.5, 12. I mean, they're 19-7, against the number this year. They've been very good. I think you just stay off, but I would lean over in this game.
All right, leaning over here in this one. Next up, Virginia Tech. They're in action tonight against Miami. Pretty interesting matchup. Virginia Tech, 2.5, 3-point home favorites, 153.5 the total in this game. You talk about games that I think will be high scoring. I think this one will be. I like the over. I'm not even bothering with the side. I expect these two teams to be efficient because that's what they both can be. I mean, this Miami team is just so much fun to watch. If they can even guard just a little bit come NCAA tournament time, they could make a run, and that's what it's going to come down to with them. We know they can score. They got just offense that oozes out of this Hurricanes team. It's going to be a question of whether they can guard, whether they can defend. But there's no question about that. They've been absolutely outstanding scoring the basketball. here of late, led, of course, by Isaiah Wong, who just continues to be outstanding at the guard. Nigel Pack. I mean, just an outstanding group duo they are for Miami. And Virginia Tech, again, since they got Hunter Couture back, their defense has fallen off, but they've been a lot better offensively since they got him back, and it's been showing that the defense has fallen off. And with Hunter Couture on the floor, they've been better offensively because they've been flying over the total for this Virginia Tech team. 8 straight games have gone over. The head-to-head series has gone over in 6 straight. Earlier this year on January 31st, it was a 92-83 game for Miami, which had 175 points. So pretty easy decision here for me to bet over 152.5. Conor, what do you think?
Yeah, I think it gets over. Of course, it could always just in the 70s and stay under, but I think this is just over or nothing. Look at the 160 with Wake, and I was like, I don't know. And that game just 96, 87, just flew over. Miami, to me, this year, the way they can score so well and offensively, it's been better on the road. That's why I want to look at them. I don't know if I want to go full game, but as we say, like, yes, this is tricky, a little bit of a tricky spot. Desperate Virginia Tech team at home, laying a couple points. To me, it's Miami. I don't know how I'm going to look to it. If I'm going to go first half or I'm not going to play it, I don't know where I'd go. But to me, it's just ride these Canes.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a good spot for Va Tech as well, but I'm not interested in going against Miami catching points. It's really that simple. All right, next up, we got St. Louis and Richmond. Down to the A10 we go for this one. Near a pick'em here, 142 the total in this game. I think Richmond might be the play here. I mean, Richmond is starting to they were starting to play a little bit better. That loss to LaSalle was a head-scratcher, 68-62. Home court, for the most part, has been better for them lately. St. Louis has won 3 of the last 4. Can they go on the road, though, and get the job done is the big question mark with them. I mean, a lot of their road wins were George Washington, Loyola Chicago, who's been down this year. Davidson has been inconsistent. Had some pretty rough road games lately, though. Fordham, they lost by 10. Dayton, they got blown out. So I just kind of feels like my first thought was I like St. Louis. Then I look at the number. I'm like, that seems very, very cheap. We think St. Louis is the better team, but why are they pick them here? I thought they could be even a 2-point favorite or so on the road, but that's not the case. Makes me think maybe Richmond could pull this one out, but it's a real tricky game. At the end of the day, St. Louis is the better team, but this line screams Richmond to me. What do you think here, Conor?
It does for me too. I don't want anything. I want nothing to do with these two basketball teams, so I'll be quick. I'm off.
Yeah, I mean, it's a tricky line. That was a head scratcher to me with where this line was put up in this game. All right, next up, we've got, let's see. All right, here we go. Mississippi State and Missouri down to the SEC here. Missouri, 3.5-point home favorites, 139 the total. I thought it was a hell of a great spot for Missouri, but they did not take advantage of it over the weekend against Texas A&M. And I thought Texas A&M might have been caught looking ahead to this big home game that we're going to get to in just a bit against Tennessee tonight, but not the case. Very good performance again by the Aggies. They continue to play great ball. Bit of a spoiler alert as to what I like in that game coming up. But nevertheless, I think when you look at this game, I think this could be, again, a spot. I wouldn't bail on Missouri just because they lost at home. They've still played, other than that game, they've played pretty good on their home floor. Mississippi State's just way too rocky, erratic, up and down for my liking. So if I were to play anything here, I'd play the Tigers, Missouri -3.5. What do you think here, Conor?
Yeah, I'd look to Missouri. I think they can bounce back here at home and get the win, but I'm not rushing to lay 3.5 with them. I look at this total. These teams play to the under. We know Missouri's an over team, but when they get together, and Mississippi State hasn't played many overs. They had that game against TCU that went to OT, but all their games have stayed under this number. To me, I think you take the under 139 here.
Yeah, I'm going to be back on Missouri again. I know they did me wrong on Saturday with A&M, but I think I'm going to come back here with Missouri here tonight against Mississippi State. All right, next up, here it is, Tennessee and Texas A&M. The Aggies opened 1.5 up to 2, to even 2.5, starting to show up, 129.5 the total in this game. And look, these are two teams that are in opposite form right now. You've got A&M is absolutely surging right now. They've won 5 in a row, covered 5 in a row. And here's Tennessee, 2-4 straight up, 1-5 against the spread in their last 6 games. I mean, to me, this is A&M or nothing. I mean, I like the way the Aggies are playing. I don't want Rick Barnes coach teams in February and March, okay? All they do is spit the bit. All they do is just lay a big fat turd out there for the masses. I mean, it's every single year here with Tennessee and this coach in particular, Rick Barnes, where when the chips are down, they don't play their best basketball when the going gets tough. What's that old song, Billy Ocean? When the going gets tough, the tough get going. Well, they're not getting going right now. The going is getting rough, and the tough are not getting rough here. The Tennessee Volunteers, they're fading, they're crumbling. They're not scoring points. Their defense has had these games where they've been shredded like Missouri did to them. I don't know what happened to them offensively against Kentucky on the road on the weekend, but 22 of 59 is absolutely miserable. They don't have any shot makers. They don't have any clutch.
Well, they struggled before, Pavano, and now no James, no Phillips. How did they score?
Ziegler's hit or miss. Vescovy, I mean, he's all right, but come on, is he like one of these big time shot makers and clutch late game, big time offensive players? No. I mean, I think there's definitely some problems. Now, they defend pretty well. I mean, that's definitely the thing you have to look for with Tennessee. They can defend well, and that's what's going to have to get them through this game here tonight, but not with my money. It's Texas A&M for me, and I took minus 135 with them on the money line. Now, what do you think here, Connor?
Yeah, they are going to have to defend. Yeah, I just don't want Tennessee right now, especially – to me, this is just A&M or nothing, especially with James and Phillips. I don't think they play. I haven't heard anything. This line's moved to 2.5, basically, everywhere. Their defense could keep them in it, but I like how A&M's been playing. Big game for them. They need a big win here at home, and I think they can get it. That's where I'd be. I'd be on A&M or nothing.
I think so too. I think a coaching advantage, quite honestly, too, with Buzz Williams. I'll take him in a heartbeat over old Tricky Ricky Barnes. That's for sure. All right, next up we've got Akron and Toledo. I put this one on the list because it's a good game in the MAC. It's two of the better teams in the conference here. Good state rivalry as well in the state of Ohio. Toledo 4-point home favorites, 149 the total in this. Akron's form has dipped a little bit. They were the hottest team in the conference a week or two ago. Haven't been nearly as good lately. I'm tempted to take Toledo here. With Toledo, it's always the same shit. Do you want to lay points with them considering what the defense can be like? We know they can score with anybody. They can score 80s and 90s, and for the most part, they do score into the 80s and 90s. But the defense is always a little bit of a concern. Akron, again, 2 straight wins for them against Eastern Michigan and Buffalo. But you look at all of a sudden the way they played against the better teams. Ohio beat them. Toledo already beat them. 84-74. It is a revenge game for Akron here after losing at home to Toledo. And now we have Akron as the road dog. That is a long-term good angle, and it's probably what's going to end up keeping me off Toledo in this game. But for me, I'm looking more at the total. It's 149. I get that they've lowered this total because it's a game involving Akron. Akron plays slow, pretty solid defensive team. That's why this total's lower. But Akron's gone over in 3 of their last 4. Like I said, this is one of those lightest and smallest totals in a Toledo game in a very long time. You don't see Toledo in the 140s very often. The last meeting got into the 150s, 158 points, and it went over the total. So I'm going to look more over in this game with these two. What do you think, Connor?
Yeah, I think the total was too light here with Toledo. Toledo's just running so hot. They've done this to me before. I know they're laying a short number, but if this wasn't the revenge, because I had Akron hadn't lost at home. What was that? 10 days ago, 2 weeks ago, yep. And Toledo ran all over them, and they looked there was a mismatch, I thought. But yeah, I'm going to stay off. I agree with you, though. I think this gets over the number. Can Toledo's defense come to play? If they do, they cover this easily. If not, Akron can hang around, and this could be tight.
All right, here's a really interesting one. Baylor and Kansas State now in the Big 12, right around a pick 'em here. Baylor slight road favorites here in the Little Apple, Manhattan, 148 the total. I think this is another over potentially with these two. I think we'll see points. The side is tricky, though. Baylor, coming off I don't know what happened in the second half. I mean, that game was nuts if you think about it. It's like 2 different basketball teams took the court, Baylor, in that game against Kansas on Saturday. In the first half, it was that great trio, L.J. Cryer, Flagler, and Keontae George, those are the three go-to guys for Baylor. They couldn't be stopped in the first half against Kansas. They were outstanding, and then all of a sudden, the defense of Kansas just woke up and suffocated them in the second half, and Kansas ended up rolling past Baylor. So which Baylor team is it tonight? This is just not the right price for me to take Baylor. Like, I could make a case for Baylor if they were catching points. They're laying on the road against a team that plays some damn good ball at the Little Apple at the Bramlage Coliseum there. Kansas State's played pretty well at home this year, so I'd be a little reluctant here to lay points with Baylor on the road personally. What do you think here, Connor? Baylor, K-State?
Yeah, until that game, Baylor had really owned them lately until that one earlier, that OT thriller, 97-95. I worry. I think I just want to take Baylor early and look first half. I don't know if that happens again, but yeah, the only thing is they're not getting plus 1.5, 2.5. They're laying 1.5. It is the revenge. I think this gets over too. I just think the number's pretty sharp on the total, but I think we can get over this number, and maybe I'm going to look at Baylor early.
Yeah, the way I see it with Baylor, they started the season are absolutely hideous defensively, Baylor. They're not like November, December bad with their defense right now, but it's still not a great defensive team, Baylor. Like, it can come and go for them. It's nowhere close to what we've seen out of Scott Drew's crew on the defensive end of the basketball court in years past. I think that's going to end up being their downfall, Connor Mack. I still hear people saying they're a real threat to win the title, and maybe they can, because offensively, like when you got Cryer, Flagler, and George among others, you can score, but are you going to be able to defend? And I don't see this anywhere close to the level of defending we've seen from Baylor in years past. And I think that's going to be their downfall in March. We'll have to wait and see on that. All right, next up, we've got Marquette and Creighton in the Big East. It is currently Creighton, 5.5-point home favorites, 146 the total. This is one of those classic games. And look, we're now into late season college basketball in the regular season, especially in these major conferences. These are going to be trickier games to bet. I always find the biggest struggle for me in college basketball is the last couple of weeks of the regular season, right before conference tournaments, because you got teams that are kind of out of it, teams that don't really have a lot at stake, teams that have everything at stake. And sometimes when you bet the team that has everything at stake, they get tight and they still don't end up getting the job done. So these are tricky times of the year. The way I see this is it feels like it's a spot for Creighton, right? In this matchup, they're laying a reasonable number at home. They had that 69-58 loss to Marquette way back in December, but Creighton is revving their game up at the right time. They've been on fire. Their only loss was at Providence in overtime. They've been getting the job done here on their very strong home floor. And Marquette, they've continued to play pretty well, don't get me wrong, but on the road, they've shown some little vulnerabilities. Xavier, they lost. UConn, they lost by 15. Creighton rather is trying to avenge a loss to Marquette. So I feel like it's a Creighton spot. The line's not terrible, -5.5, but at the end of the day, we know Shaka Smart going back to VCU, to Texas, and now here at Marquette, his 3 coaching stops. He's been terrific as an underdog, absolutely outstanding. And the long-term numbers with his coach teams as underdogs is phenomenal. And it's so phenomenal, I'm kind of pumping the brakes here on maybe backing Creighton, but I do lean to Creighton here. What do you think, Connor?
Yeah, I think it is a good spot. It's just Shaka as a dog, like you mentioned. It's tough to go against him. One thing with Marquette, I mean, other than the Seton Hall game, which was low scoring, the defense hasn't been there on the road. And that's where I think this game can get over the total here. And Creighton's played to a few unders lately, that Connecticut game. No. But I think we see points. Both these teams, Marquette averages 80, Creighton 77. They shoot it better here at home. So I think Creighton gets it done. It's just you want to lay this 5.5, but I think this gets over.
I'm just looking at it too. Creighton, the last 2 times they've hosted Marquette, they have won both and covered both, 74-63 and 83-82. Although that one would not cover this number, but like I said, I do lean here to the Blue Jays in this Big East matchup. All right, we've got Indiana, Michigan State next up here in the Big Ten. Michigan State 3-point home favorites, 137 being the total in this game. Is it really that simple where, is you just, I know they're betting Michigan State here, but there's no one that can possibly believe Michigan State's the better team right now. Indiana's playing some excellent basketball, but at the end of the day, why are they probably betting Michigan State? Oh, that's the damn Big Ten home courts. That's why. I mean, the home court advantage in this conference has been insanely strong. And even so, you'd feel Indiana here getting points might be worth a look here. But the problem is for Michigan State, I don't know if they have a defensive stopper for TJD for Indiana, Trace Jackson Davis, who's playing exceptional right now. He's scoring, he's shooting, he's passing. I can't believe how good he sees the floor. I mean, he's improved in all facets of basketball this season. He's having an outstanding year, probably player of the year contender, I would have to say, with the way he's played.
Oh, I think he's right there.
Yeah.
Behind Edey. I mean, for like the Wooden and all the awards, yeah.
That's funny. Edey, who's in the mix, is also a Big Ten player. So, yeah, you got two Big Ten guys right there in the mix for it. But, at the end of the day, they're betting Michigan State. I get it. The home courts and the teams on the road in this conference, they've gone on the road. They haven't looked like the same team. I mean, just look at Indiana. They lost by 11 at Maryland, and they lost by 2 at Northwestern in their last road game. And they barely snuck out of Michigan with a rare road win for a road team. They beat Michigan 62-61. But, the games have not been easy here for Indiana. They drubbed Michigan State at Assembly 82-69 last month. The Michigan State's won and covered 2 straight at home against Indiana. So maybe people see that this is going to be a spot here for Michigan State. And this is, by the way, the first game since the shooting for Michigan State, first home game, I mean. So, is that part of the situation too? Is there going to be a little situational element here, a very emotional, bubbling cauldron of emotion in Breslin Center tonight on campus, with this being the first home game after that awful shooting? It was just awful to hear that with what happened on campus. So it's very, very telling that Michigan State opened a favorite and they're taking money, even though I think we all agree Indiana's the better basketball team. So I'm off the game. Just too many elements each way. What do you think here, Connor?
Yeah, I think Indiana might be, a little bit better as the team, and they've played well on the road. Obviously, Michigan blew it in that game. They didn't score a point the last 4 minutes and 50 seconds, and they lost by 2 to Northwestern. I lean under on this total. Indiana's all of a sudden been kind of a slow team. I'm going to stay off. Michigan State, same way. But in that Michigan game on Saturday, it went up and down. But if I had to touch this total, I'd be back and look on the under. But I think after the shooting, I got to look Michigan State here. And they've had some games close at home, Babano. That's why it's like at 3, this number, is right there. They've had, what was that Iowa game? They had a 2-point win. I think they just beat Rutgers by 5 or Maryland by 5. So if they win, who knows? I'd Michigan State or nothing for me. That's it.
I'm going to be brief with this one. Georgia, Arkansas. We've got Arkansas laying a huge number here at home, 13.5, 142.5. I do like the over. That's it. I mean, there's really not much more that needs to be said. I think Georgia has absolutely quit, in certain instances on defense. I mean, when they played Kentucky and LSU, who are plotting offensive teams, they were okay, but Alabama did a number on them. Ole Miss shredded them. A&M shredded them. Auburn shredded them. This is not a team playing great defensive basketball. Arkansas, now that they're getting healthier, they're starting to pile up the points again. They've scored in the 80s now, 2 of their last 4 games. They've trended over 3 of the last 4. Georgia's gone over now in 5 of their last 7 games. The overs cashed in 6 of the last 7 head-to-head meetings with Georgia and Arkansas as well. So for me, I like the over. I'm just staying off the side. Connor, what do you think?
Georgia, that was just a thrashing. Bama's done that.
They got Alabama in an angry mood too after losing to Tennessee. Yeah. Yeah,
they did. I don't want to lay 14 though with Arkansas. They are the better team. I don't love how they shoot it. Is Smith back too? I think he's back. He's going to play tonight, or he played the last game as well.
Yep.
So that'll be good.
Only
for
Brazil
them.
is still out, but he ain't coming back. But they got Smith back now. Yep.
Yeah, he's out for the year. Tough. I just can't take Georgia. I'd like to take these points. I'm not going to do it.
All right, we've got 3 games left on the main slate, the first segment here. Texas Tech and Oklahoma here in the Big 12 Conference. We've got Oklahoma, 2.5-point home favorites, 136.5 the total here in this game. Give me the Red Raiders again. I've been rolling along with this team, backing them, and I'm on them again here as a slight road dog. I think they can win this game outright here against Oklahoma. They're finally clicking. I've been waiting for this team that's underachieved for much of the Big 12 season to get rolling here, and now they're showing signs of it. They've won 3 in a row. They probably could have beat Oklahoma State on the road. They lost by 3, other than one bad half, and it was only one bad half because that game with Baylor was close at halftime, and then they got blown out in the second half. Other than that, since January 28th, they've been playing really good basketball, the Red Raiders. They've covered 4 straight. They've won 3 in a row. They went on the road and beat West Virginia 78-72 over the weekend. It's a revenge spot. They lost in overtime at home to Oklahoma back on January 7th in Lubbock. I think Texas Tech gets payback here, and it's that great situation again where home team loses the first meeting, and then they're on the road as an underdog for the rematch. That's a good long-term angle. Give me the Red Raiders 2.5, and sprinkle on that money line too, because I think they're going to win this game. And plus, you got Oklahoma coming off the heartbreaker against Texas. It might be a hangover for them. They poured everything into that game in Austin, and they fall short, losing 85-83 in overtime. So I think it's a great slam dunk situation. Best form of the year for Texas Tech, playing with revenge, catching Oklahoma off that heartbreaker against Texas. I think it lines up nicely here for the Red Raiders. Conor, what do you think here?
Yeah, for me, it's Texas Tech or nothing in this game. Like you talked about, playing good basketball lately. This total, when I think of these two teams and they get together, it's an under. But if you've seen these teams lately, all their games have gone over. So, and with that, I'm going to stay off the total here, which could go either way. So, but yeah, give me Texas Tech or nothing here.
All right, good stuff. I believe she's done some stuff with Dutch on the channel here, the Fowlish Hound in the chat. So shout out to the Fowlish Hound and everyone in the chat. We appreciate it very much. Hit the like button. Thank you for tuning in. All right, we got 2 games left here, Iowa State and Texas. We've got Texas 6.5, 7-point home favorites, 136.5 the total in this game. Texas survived. We just talked about Oklahoma lost a heartbreaker against Texas. The Longhorns on the winning end of that close call with the Sooners in overtime on Saturday. They'll look to build on that here against Iowa State in this game. These teams played back in January at Hilton Coliseum, and Iowa State, as they often do at home, victorious 78-67 in this game. It's been a crazy trending series history, believe it or not, between these two teams. But lately, Iowa State, scuffling a little bit on offense. Even at home, they've had some rough offensive performances, but defense remains one of the better defensive teams. The Cyclones in the Big 12 kind of trending that way. This does feel actually like an under spot, because I could see Texas being a little bit, not out hungover, but out of gas. That was a very intense game, having to go to overtime against Oklahoma. Even though Texas is in revenge, they've been pretty good at home. They did show the last game laying points at home. Yeah, you can't take the road underdog when a team plays at Texas. So I'd lean under. I'd lean Iowa State with the number you're getting on them here. What do you think here, C-Mac?
It's a little out here. It's 7, but I'd lay it here with Texas. I think they get it done here at home. They've been good all year. Iowa State, too. Most of the first halves, they've looked good. They've gotten their ass beat in the second half. So if you like Iowa State, they've hung in tough on the road.
And then the roof collapses in the second half. And it was a good thing for me with K-State on Saturday against them. Yep.
Yeah, me too. And they've just kind of fallen apart in a ton of second halves on the road. It's just 7. I'd lay it here with Texas.
All right, good stuff. Next up here, final game of the first segment here, Colorado State, San Diego State, Mountain West, late night action, 8 p.m. Pacific time. We've got San Diego State, 10.5-point home favorites, 136.5 is the total in this game. Colorado State, all of a sudden, and I shouldn't say all of a sudden, we know this team has struggled. They've had all kinds of issues. They had some key injuries. The Josiah Strong being out certainly didn't help this group at all. He was supposed to be a big component for this group coming over from Illinois State, but he's been out, and they've had all kinds of in and out due to injuries and suspensions and the like. But all of a sudden, he's kept a consistent rotation here, Nico Medved, the last 3 games, and all of a sudden his team has covered 3 in a row and they beat Fresno on the road as dogs. They beat Air Force handily, and they almost beat Boise, 80-78 at home. So all of a sudden, we're seeing Colorado State just a little bit start to play better basketball. I can't explain it, Connor, but the last 3 meetings with Colorado State and San Diego State, Colorado State won one of them, and San Diego State won the other 2, but both of them were 6 points or less. I don't know. To me, this with Colorado State just turning the slightest corner, I might look at plus points here with the Rams. I mean, you're talking about a team that said they don't have to win this game. They can just compete. They've been better here the last 3 games. San Diego State, you look at the way they've played in a couple of these games recently. They've had some issues winning by margin. The Utah State game, the Fresno State game was a very close call. They have been tough here at Viejas. That's my one little reservation here, is that San Diego State enters this game on a 4-0 straight up, 4-0 against the spread streak here at Viejas against Utah State, San Jose State, Boise State, and UNLV. They won and covered all 4 of those home games. But to me, there's value on Colorado State right now, a team that's playing their best basketball of the season, and the odds maker is not reflecting it in their current point spread. So I do lean Rams. But again, that recent strong run of home performances for the Aztecs does worry me a little bit. But what do you think here in this one, Connor? Late night, Rams, Aztecs.
You mentioned Rams playing better. I just don't think I'm going to get there with them. San Diego State with me, this team at home, the Bano seems like they went 10 or 11. We're right where this is. They've had a couple blowouts. What was it? The San Jose State and a few others. So, if I had to, I'm off. I don't want anything. I don't want either side. I'm off. Get me out of here.
There you go. Nothing, says Connor Mack for this one. Jay Rush, good point in the chat here. That's Jose should be doing that, not me, but I did there. Texas last 10 home games produced 142 plus points. I wanted to highlight that because the total is like 136 and a half in that game. Very, very impressive that's that streak. So if you believe in that, you should be betting over the total in that Iowa State Texas game. But the interesting stat there by Jay Rush. All right, hit the like button. We appreciate it. Connor, we got through most of the games, but any of the leftover games on this card that we haven't talked about, anything you like?
This team's been up and down for me, but I think you take Utah State or nothing. They got to shoot it well, though, and I think they will tonight. In this one, Babano, I think you just take it. This team's been that bad, Tulsa. I think could they win here? I know East Carolina is not that much better, and you could go money line. They're only 2-point favorites. They play their best game in the last 12 or 14 at home, maybe, but I think you just take East Carolina. I mean, Tulsa's just getting blown out by 40. And East Carolina doesn't need to win big here. 3-point win. And they're good. So I think it's East Carolina or nothing. I don't know how you can look the other way.
Yep.
That was about it for me. Yeah. You like Youngstown, Robert Morris. I'm looking at that over. I know Robert Morris more of an under team. Youngstown, too, if you just go with them, go with their team total. They've hit like 74 points, every game. And it might be a little bit higher. Got to double check their team total. But maybe look at that one. But that was about it.
What's the total in that Youngstown game? I'm just trying to look
142. It's dropped a little.
Yeah, I think it can get over. The comparable for Robert Morris is, and I know the first meeting with Youngstown was 134. It stayed under the total, but I'd lean over on this because Robert Morris also played Wright State. Wright State gets up and down the court. That one got into the high 140s. So it shows you that when someone wants to run, someone's a good offensive team, they can they can go along with that. So the over, it's not my favorite look, but Youngstown's never a team I'm rushing to bet unders with them. They're just such a good offensive team. They play quick. So that one might get over. I'm with you on East Carolina. I mean, I just think you got to take them because Tulsa hasn't even been competitive. Never mind winning. Never mind actually winning a game. They haven't even been competitive of late. And, they have to win this game. So you're right. East Carolina, I think that's the only way I could go. I have no idea who plays defense in that game either. I also think it's probably a good overlook in that game, East Carolina and Tulsa. And what else do I like? I don't really have much outside of the games we talked about, honestly, on this board, really. Western Michigan, Eastern Michigan, I think the over there Maybe look, who wants to lay points with Eastern? And look, Eastern Michigan's cashed some tickets for me, but who wants to lay points with them now as favorites? I mean, I think Western Michigan, if you're going to play the side in that game, but certainly I like the over there a little bit. Kent State, Ball State, that one's a tough one, but Kent State's kind of been not nearly as sharp lately. Ball State maybe +3. I could make a case there in that one. Missouri State against Murray State's kind of hit the wall lately too. Very disappointing what we're seeing out of the Racers right now.
They're bad.
But yeah, I
You
would
got to
agree
lay
with
it
that.
though.
Yeah,
With Missouri, they don't shoot it well. Bad free throw team.
Yep.
Do you really want to lay 6? So
I think that's
they
tricky.
win.
I think that's tricky. I like the Northern Illinois Ohio over as well. Northern Illinois has actually played some better defense lately, so I would look toward maybe the over there with the Huskies and the Bobcats there in the MAC. And Central Michigan plus the points. I'm kind of tempted by them against Buffalo. Buffalo's not the kind of team that, as a double-digit favorite, I have a whole lot of faith in. So I might look at Central there in that game plus the points. That's about it. Oh, VCU. Yeah, we didn't talk the VCU game. Yeah, I think VCU is the right side. It's getting up there. You got to lay points on the road, but I don't know how I make a case for St. Joe's. So I would definitely lean Rams. I might even get involved with the Rams. There's a small bet there, -5, -5.5 on the road. I do think they get the job done.
Someone wrote, East Carolina bad on the road, 1-7.
Yep.
Tulsa, they're 4-8 at home. Those wins were early, but against the number, they're 1-9 at home. So I mean, a couple of shit teams.
Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, as much as we like East Carolina, would it totally shock me if Tulsa wins? No, but I can't see it happening. Yeah, it's Pirates for me or nothing at all there. Great stuff. Hit the like button. We appreciate it. Yeah, I do lean Ball State, Daryl Turner against Kent, but I don't know if I'll pull the trigger on that. Good stuff indeed. Best bets coming up right after we hear from Manscaped and Southtown 101. All right, Southtown 101, when you're in San Antonio, Texas, stop in. Great food, drinks, live music, DJs, karaoke. Southtown 101, manscaped.com, promo code PubSports, 20% off your purchase, Lawnmower 4.0 or any Manscaped product. Get 20% off and free shipping with promo code PubSports. All right, it is best bet time. I mentioned, Daryl, that Western Michigan's my lean in that game, but I don't know if I'll bet it, and I have nothing on Air Force Fresno. I mean, I'm not laying it with Air Force, and Fresno's kind of hit the wall lately, so I'm off that game. Maybe the under in that game, if anything. All right, best bets, Conor. We'll start with you. What do you like for best bet?
Yeah, I'm laying it with Texas here. I think they get the job, -7 at home. And I'm not on a lot of unders. Unders haven't been going well in college basketball, but I'm on the Mississippi State under 139. I think that's too high. And I'd say maybe Urbano goes with it because I had to wait on Phillips and James. It would have been a best bet for me with A&M, and they can win with them in. I'm just going to wait to see if they play, but I think A&M gets it at home. Just
all right, good stuff indeed there. Liking that. Best bets, a couple best bets there for Conor Maxey. San Jose State got just absolutely destroyed, Tay, by New Mexico on Friday night. And I don't know if I'd be leery coming back to them there, but I don't want to lay 9 with Nevada either. So clear pass for me in that game.
Nevada great at home, but that's a lot.
Yes, it is. All right, best bet here for me on this Tuesday slate. Let's go to Texas Tech, Oklahoma. Texas Tech +2.5 against Oklahoma. This team's been so damn good to me lately, and hopefully they are one more time tonight because we're using them as best bet. Wouldn't shock me if they go to Norman and win outright. Texas Tech Red Raiders +2.5 against Oklahoma for my best bet for this Tuesday college basketball card. After a nice, easy rocking chair winner last night with Riverside as they crushed Northridge for my best bet last night. So hopefully we got another one in the cards tonight. All right, great stuff. Hit the like button. We appreciate it very much on the way out, and we'll be back tomorrow on Wednesday for another edition of the College Basketball Net Profit Show. For Conor, Mac, I'm Ian Cameron. Have a great Tuesday night. Enjoy the games and good luck. And we'll see you again tomorrow on Wednesday for another edition of the College Basketball Net Profit Show right here on Pub Sports Radio.
Palooza 2 on the horizon. We're going to have live shows popping off in the Southbound 101. We're going to have a poker tournament, a par 3 golf tournament, UFC San Antonio on the Saturday night. A lot of excitement. Palooza 2, baby.